Yes, let's go for it. So I love that question. You want to just hit me with it directly? We could start from there.
Yes. So, Corey, here is the direct question, mate. Again,
Okay.
do you think Google Ads is viable for most businesses now?
Absolutely,
Now.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely
I think
yes
you'd
or
be
absolutely no?
crazy. I think you'd be crazy to think that it's not. I would not go into marketing a new business or an existing business without making some assumptions that it's going to do very well. Obviously, I'm
Interesting.
quite biased after nearly a decade of working and specializing in the paid search space and offering solutions around that. But that's my immediate reactions is, of course, people are
Of
searching
course.
for something that you are probably offering. I think you'd want to be there. I
Yes.
think it's very strategic.
Interesting. Well, that's a very succinct and direct answer. So let's jump into our next segment of the no, the economics.
I
No,
love
so
it.
I had an interesting chat with a mate the other night. He runs a Google Ads exclusive agency, and he said something to me that really hit hard because I really just hadn't reflected on it to this level. And I've been under the assumption since I've started Google Ads that Google Ads is a very high intent channel and it's focused primarily around high intent traffic. Now, that was the case when I started back in 2014, 15, I think it's 10 or 11 years. I'm been doing Google Ads full time now. But times have changed, as Bob Dylan would say, times are a changing. And he said to me something that he's like, dude, you do know Google Ads now is a broad market strategy. And I was like, whoa. And I started to recognize in that moment that high intent focus that you and I have been conditioned for and condition ourselves for, and that we proactively focus on, is not the product that Google pushes to the market anymore. They don't push the whole like, you know, put a keyword for people proactively looking right now to buy. It's positioned as this broad market strategy with the display elements, the local listings, and all these things,
Mhm.
where very rarely does the documentation or the marketing material focus on or pertain to a return on ad spend, but more likely a visibility aspect to it. Be seen, come up when people are looking, but it doesn't really align or talk about returns anymore. And I think it's because they know that number one, if they position it as that, the products have to reflect that. And number two, that I don't think they genuinely believe internally that this product is aligned with a high ROI for most businesses. You know, a local florist or a local whatever. Like most businesses are local small businesses. That's just fact. Most employment is actually done by small businesses as well. But reflecting on this, when I'm like, oh, okay, that hit me. It hit me really hard. I'm just reflecting, okay, if this is a broad market strategy, is it still a viable channel? Like, as in general. And I don't think in general it is for most businesses. I think most businesses come into Google Ads now and they still can get a return, but those massive ROIs that people have been conditioned to or expect now are harder to get because maybe in the past, for example, purely example, there are 10 things you could do in Google Ads and five of them would make you 20 things you could do and 10 of them would make you profitable. And, the other 10 were just kind of like features that were just Google. Now I feel like there's 100 things you could do, and there's only five things that actually get the result. So I feel like the things you can do to influence the platform to have higher ROI is shifting but minimizing. But there are more features added to it, maybe for more broad market, but I actually think more to distract as well. So
Mhm.
that's just my thoughts and opinions. Is it viable? I think you're right. Yes, it is, but it has to be done very, very, very specifically now. It's not just like you can just launch it and it will just work.
Mhm.
It requires even more speciality and more discernment and more focus and more just like real critical, like anti Google thinking. So that's my
Mhm.
thoughts. What are your thoughts, CL?
Yeah, I think there's two sides to this, right? We have the what's being marketed to us by both Google and agencies. Agencies are going to be pushing for expansion. Most agencies, per a lot of studies, charge a percentage of ad spend. Therefore, they're going to be slightly incentivized and biased to want you to expand your account and try more outbound types of marketing that you're maybe not used to using Google Ads channeling for, right? And Microsoft Ads falls into this as well. So there is going to be some bias. There's going to be people coming at you again, Google as well, Google reps that we vented
Yeah.
about a couple episodes ago that are going to be saying and using this word expansion, expansion. Well, what about attribution and everything
Yeah.
else? I do think the advertiser, we always have to stick to our guns. We need to be clear about what our strategies and objectives are, because then we can align what we're going to be doing strategically and tactically in the accounts to that objective.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if we're going to be swayed by every marketing message that's out there, you're going to months down the line go, man, we've spent $3,000. Let's just make it easy on display. What were we doing this for? Should we just
Yeah.
should we just stop doing this? I see that happens. As
Yeah.
surprising it is, it kind of has like a slow burn. They've spent a little bit at a time. They're not really tracking the attribution journey. They're not considering how it's affecting other channels and their other marketing. And so it's very narrow minded. It's very short sighted. And it tends to just be something they kind of turn off when they're optimistic, turn off when they're less optimistic. And a lot of accounts that I see, and a lot of professionals, our level and lower, are proponents of just do search. If it's relevant, do shopping, do performance max. If you're in the e-commerce space, do branded, do non-branded, do some display remarketing, maybe do some remarketing on YouTube, and pretty much call it a day. I think that's kind of the 80-20 for a lot of the cases. And there is sometimes going to be missed opportunities there. Other times not. You need someone that can measure that for you. But I think that's kind of like the environment that we live in. Is there's kind of the old school thinking that it's bottom of funnel. You just go to Google Ads for not for demand creation or brand awareness, but it's really a play on capturing those as you mentioned, those high intent searches, the people that are ready to buy right now. That's where we're going to get the highest
Yeah.
ROI. And as long as we communicate those goals to Google and we structure it in a certain way, we're going to achieve that. Though to your point, it's not as maybe instantaneous as it used to be because it's gotten more competitive. There's
Yeah.
more people that know how to do this. There's less settings and hacks here and there. I mean, I remember back in the day when people didn't even know where to find search terms. That
Yeah.
it's not that's not that day
Yeah.
anymore. Now there's more accessible amounts of information that are out there. There's more scripts that are freely available. These systems are more available, and now we also have AI, which is now also being included as a beta feature inside the Google Ads interface, where we're seeing a chat and it's inside the user interface, and now people can just start chatting with this Google AI. I don't know if it's Gemini 2.5 or 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
But these are kind of the things we're starting to struggle with. So I can understand the confusion as to, do we go for bottom of funnel? Do we use it as a full funnel marketing channel? It's understandable that it's a little bit confusing nowadays.
Yeah. Man, there's so many aspects of this because it's easy for you and I and other professionals to go, yeah, it does work because we know how to work it. But it's its own machine, like driving a car. And even if a car can become more simple, you still got to learn how to drive it. So even with those aspects of Gemini where you can go ask it questions, what questions do you ask it? Who's telling you what questions to ask? And who's giving you the discernment to actually know if that answer is a clear answer enough versus going, oh, that's not clear enough answer. Like, no, this is what I meant. Like, because if you don't have that that ability to just that speciality, you're not going to know, oh, this answer seems a bit off. And I think there's that layer of just once again, Google Ads does it is it still viable? I still feel like it's lacking that direct potency that it once had. But the thing is, the technology has advanced, and I'm all for that. But in what direction and for who? Advertisers like us, we know how to leverage that and we've been able to grow accounts. But most businesses, I actually think for people who are self-running their own accounts, it's getting significantly worse. The natural settings that are changing, turning your match types into broad match, naturally just going click this button and we'll create new conversions. And then we'll optimize towards these conversions, which are not even conversions. And then, let's just turn you on to maximize conversions based on these conversion actions, and your cost per clicks fluctuate. And then naturally you're like, oh, interesting. Our cost per click over the last 2 years gone up 50%, and we're still spending the same, but we're getting less results now. But the account's saying we're going better. And then you look at the conversions. Oh, wait, they're not actual conversions. They're page view visits. Oh, why? What the hell's going on here? And then it's just like this slow downward trickle where we talk about the power of the algorithm, but the algorithm, what's it optimizing towards? Like, as you mentioned, especially with all these aspects of it, you've got to have such a very clear, specific outcome that you want in the business, not from Google Ads of like, we want to be hitting this much revenue. And then you go, how can we use each ad channel to support that? And within each ad channel, what is the most likely or high probability placements or campaign types that will get us there as well? I sense that a lot of people, because they identify as a Google Ads specialist, and they're like, we've got to use all the placements because they're there and I've got to appease the client, rather than going, what are the specific campaigns or placement types that align with this specific business? And I think too many people just get caught up in like, there's a new feature, we should try it out. It's like, no, are we like, what's the outcome here? To try new things out or get to the result? And people are like, oh, it's always get the result. And it's like, then why is your behavior, why is your campaign, why is everything not structured that way? And you can tell the structure and the thinking of the person running an account by just looking at the ad account, because the ad account will reflect the psychology of the person running it. Is it messy? Is it clean? Like, sorry, go on.
I was just going to add, I mean, there is obviously a place for experimentation, but it has to be very well grounded in a hypothesis. You have to say, okay, I think if we try moving our branded search campaign to a manual CPC and we're controlling it, we're going to get better performance. We're going to get the same impression share, and we're going to lower the CPCs. And there, overall, we're going to get better ROI from that campaign. That's a very clear hypothesis. But if you're just doing it because it's new, that doesn't align with what you're getting paid to do as a PPC professional. So I think we have to be careful with that.
Yeah. And this is where also understanding the biz, like I think I've been really thinking about this a lot recently. I think with advertising in general, it's like maybe 35% your technical skills. And then like maybe the next 65 to 70% is actually the consulting part. And when I say consulting, it's like communication, understanding the client's needs, like really specifically understand them, and the data analysis. So things that you and I are naturally good at. Because, for example, I was on a call the other day with a client, and they have a new SEO agency working with them. And they're spending, I think, $50,000 a month. And the agency just goes, oh, like, we've looked at the ad account, looks really good, but we just noticed like you're not doing any like local search ads. Like, what's going on there? And I was like, hey man, like, awesome question, more than happy to answer it. And then I was like, look, the context on this client and the business is they need their cost per lead to be a certain amount. It needs to be around $13. The current conversion rate's at 25 to 30%. So that's extremely high and hard to manage and maintain. They also are sensitive to lead volume, where they need a certain lead volume as well each month. So with a cost per lead like target that's very low, which requires a high conversion rate and a sensitivity to lead volumes, it's like I'm not going to experiment. Like, I need to serve this client. It's not that I'm like not wanting to do it. It's just like that's not appropriate. And even when with other clients in lead generation, when we've attempted with some of these placements, the lead volume is not there. The lead cost per lead may be similar, lower or higher, but the quality is not there as well. But then by me just having that absolute knowledge and just was able to say it to them within like 2 minutes, they're like, okay, cool. But so many people who don't know that, they're like, fuck yeah, why aren't we doing it? Maybe we should be doing it. And then you launch it, and you're launching something because someone just suggested it, someone who's not an expert. And you're like, but I better do it because like it's in a placement and I don't want to look like I'm being left behind. But it's like, because I knew the context of the client, their budget limitations, their cost per lead limitations, their lead volume expectation or need, not expectation. I was like, that's an inappropriate suggestion. Regardless of how fucking good it may be, I don't have the flexibility now to implement that. Now, maybe if you do your SEO properly and you get them a heaps more leads that, reduces their average cost per lead of the account or the business, then we can experiment. But I think it's really important knowing your client deeply. So then when the suggestions are made or you feel like, oh, maybe I should do it, you can come back to a place of groundedness to go, no, what is the client's outcome? What are the limitations that I'm faced with? And does this new strategy, is there a high probability of viability? Because most of the time, these platforms are untested and you're just hearing that they're good either from Google or someone on LinkedIn or someone on YouTube being like, here's how to use this placement for amazing results. And it's like, Show me the case study. Show me the actual case study. Show me the sample size you've done this across. Is it one business for 1 month, or is it 10 businesses over a year? Or like show me the actual ROI in terms of actual revenue, not lead volume, because lead quality could be shit. Like you and I know that. Like we could just run a PMAX campaign for any lead generation company and they get a fuckload of leads and that would be dog shit, because if you do not know how to manage that stuff, it's guaranteed for just horrible, low quality spam leads. And the numbers look good, but what's the actual business impact? That's actually a horrible business impact. So they're just a few thoughts.
That's perfect. I mean, that's the way I think about it as
No,
well.
no. You're perfect, Cory. You're perfect.
Anything else you want to add for this, Michael?
No, man. I think that's it. I think it's just like, once again, just you've got to use critical thinking. I'd love to say like, keep it simple, but simplicity is easy when you've done something for a long time and then you've got the discipline. I think for most business owners and most businesses, Google Ads, if they self-run it, is not viable, economically viable. But with a really good, clear specialist running it, it almost becomes, you go from it's not viable at all to like you've got an arbitrage on the market. I don't feel like there's any middle ground anymore where there's like a level playing field. It's either like you're being taken advantage of by Google, or you're like dominating the market because all your competitors are slowly being taken advantage of by Google, or being like trying out these new match types and all that crap.
Okay.
That's my final thoughts. You, mate?
I like it. No, nothing else. I think that's good. We covered it, man.
Nice, man. Okay, well, let's press the marker and let's jump into our next segment.